Wow, full house. Okay, guys, let's get started. I've been practicing this one in my room for the past 2 days, and I think it's just about the right length, but if I wait too long, I might run out of time. So that being said, if you have any questions, just could you wait till the end, and I'll see what I can do then. Alrighty, blimey, full house. Okay, excellent. No pressure. Okay, so let's see. I'm trying something different here. I've got my notes on one hand and the clicker on another hand, so we'll see how this goes, if I screw it up or not. Okay, anyway. So welcome to Getting Your App Out There. My name's Tim Oliver, and I'm from Edith Cowan University in Perth, Western Australia. Basically, this is going to be a very beginners sort of oriented kind of presentation. Basically, I want to start off at the point where you've finished your app, you're just about to get it out in the App Store, and just to try and let you know what to expect, what kind of pitfalls you might have, and then once it's out there and in the wild, what kind of stuff you can do to just get the word out, actually, get people to learn about your app and to download it, and then to actually help promote the app by engaging users and doing some other stuff later down the track, like localization and all that. So, just really quickly, anvil effect. Yes, okay. So I'm from suspense. So I'm from Edith Cowan University, a little university in Perth, Western Australia. I work in the learning centre for my university, and normally my position is a web developer. So I work on the internal websites and help out with our main LMS system, which is Blackboard, good old Blackboard. But on the side, I also do a lot of multimedia research and production. So I do a bit of lecture recording, audio recording, and recently we've been moving into mobile app development. So I've been doing some, mainly on the side for the time being, but hopefully officially sooner or later, app development. We're looking at doing some app development for our main website very soon. So hopefully next year I'll be back with some cool stories for that. All right, so what we'll be covering today. So basically, starting from the bare minimum, just a quick show of hands again. Who here has never submitted an app before? Yeah, okay, that's good. That's a good number. If everyone had, I feel pretty newbie up here. So just really quick, I'm just going to talk about what to expect, some tips for actually putting, and it's working, right? And putting your app as an entry onto the App Store. Setting up some app metrics tracking in addition to iTunes Connect to actually track how your app is going. Some really good stuff there you can actually do on your own outside of iTunes. How to promote the app online. I think a lot of people are here for this. So just a couple of bits and tricks you can do. I think Russell mentioned quite a few today. Stuff that doesn't work, stuff that does work. I'll be offering my perspective and experience on what I've done with my apps and how that worked out. Engaging users. So once the app is out there, basically support. So once the app is out there and people start finding stuff that's broken in it, they'll start coming. So how to actually do some damage control, how to actually make yourself really accessible for that, and yeah, there's good ways to just keep the app going well. Hey, ECU people outside. All right, and yeah, that's it. All right, so just a bit of a disclaimer. I'm going to be talking mainly from the iOS perspective. I'm mainly an iOS developer, but pretty much everything I'm going to say will port directly across to Mac, I think. But yeah, so just keep in mind, I'm going to be going from iOS, but it will work fine on Mac as well. All right, so let me just talk a little bit about what I've been doing and basically where I've been coming from in terms of app development. This time last year, I was a complete noob at anything Mac programming related. I was exclusively Windows developing. So I actually came to the last Dev World a complete noob, not knowing the difference between a view and a view controller. Good times. So I actually did the Cocoa Jumpstart class last year. That was at the Ridges in the middle of Melbourne, the one that Lewis checked into this time. Hey, Louis. And that was really good. They're only a day, but they're really good because they give you a solid grounding and everything you need to actually just keep doing your own study from there. And I've heard the one that this year is even better, and that's not because Louis is sitting right in front of me right now. Good. Anyway, thanks. Nice save. Okay. So with that in mind, I actually went away and made my first app, and it was a really small little app. It was a currency converter app. I made an app originally that was basically a little currency converter that converted Microsoft points from Xbox Live to, real money. And I called it, it's called MicroPoints. It's a little app, really easy, just one view controller, whole pile of IB outlets, just really easy. And I thought, well, it's an app, I could probably sell it and, become insanely rich off the App Store. Yeah, not so much. So I stuck that out at the price of $1, hoping to, retire from this life of crime. And it actually didn't do too badly. Like without doing any pushing or marketing or anything, like the app would sell on a good day three a day, on a terrible day 9 a day. But it's been doing that on and off for about a year now. And the cool thing is, with an app like that, that's enough to basically recoup your Apple developer subscription. So now I can actually make apps for free, which is actually quite nice, because this app is actually sustaining my app developer subscription. So just having a couple apps like that out there is really good, just to make it so you don't actually have to keep putting more money in to continue doing your app development. Anyway, after that, just before I went to DevWorld last year, I actually went on a youth exchange trip to Japan for 2 weeks. Oh, here's Tony. Okay. Not to draw attention or anything. And yeah, so basically I went to Japan for 2 weeks, had a great time. It was really hot over there. And just mainly out of nostalgia and mainly out of the fact I saw them and, nostalgia, and for the Japanese practice, I ended up buying a pile of Pokemon games. Anyone play Pokemon? Yes! I'm not the only one. Cool, okay. So I was playing these games and I was thinking, man, this has changed a lot. And all the information's out there on Google, but I just got to keep going on my iPhone looking up the stuff on Google to play these games. And I was thinking, why don't I just make an app that just locally caches all that information, stores it on your iPhone in a nice, accessible format? So fast forward another couple months, I made a small little app. I called it iPokédex. And this is a cool little app. It was just a SQLite database attached to a pile of Vue controllers. And after micropoints, I realized that, just putting the app out there and hoping for the best doesn't really work. So I did a lot of research into actually finding out how you can actually promote the app, places you can actually talk about the app online, using things like Twitter and Facebook, even though Russell didn't really endorse them, but yeah, to try and get the word out a bit more. And after about 4 months, to my absolute shock and horror, because I was like, 10,000 downloads, it'd be great. For free, by the way, because I didn't want to get in trouble. It made 250,000 downloads, which completely blew me away. And not only that, it actually managed to hold on pretty much every store except Japan, 5 out of 5. Japan's 4.5 out of 5. And for one day, it actually hit number 7 on the Japan iTunes store, which was just, no way. I had no idea about that. That was crazy. Anyway, it was too good to last, because at that point, it obviously got way too high profile. So I actually got an email from, not Nintendo, but the guys who run Pokemon, and they said, we're not going to comment on the situation with websites and why we'll allow that, or like just turn a blind eye, but we've decided to draw the line at apps, and so could you take it down? So there's obviously like a distinction between having data on a website and data on an app, but they were very nice. They explained it in full detail in like a really long email. So I just, took it down. So might be back sooner or later. I'm going to see if I can work out something with them, but for the time being, it's off the App Store for now. Anyway, so with that in mind, let's get onto the awesome, exciting world of app development, iOS dev, and I just wanted an excuse to put a lens flare on an iPhone there. Shiny. I love lens flares. Anyway, so let's start from the very, very beginning. Once you finish the app and you've got the binary already, you've got to stick it onto iTunes. And to do that, you've got to do it through iTunes Connect. So really quickly, this is the dialog you'll probably see. It's just a nice so basically it's a nice little form to put all your app information in and hit go, and then once you've hit go, it goes into the submission, and you have to hear back from Apple whether it's been approved or denied or not. And once it's on the App Store, that's what it will look like. I'm sure you've all seen that before, right? Once or twice? Cool. So there's probably 3 main sections you'll probably want to actually look at when you're actually putting the app online. The first one is the app name, which is pretty straightforward. This thing I found out is it has to be absolutely unique. You can't have 2 apps on the store with the exact same name. I was actually really lucky because there was already an iPokédex without the accented E, but not one with the accented E. So I got the one with the accented E, and I was like, yes! So obviously, ASCII characters and Unicode characters are different. So it must be unique. But that being said, if the name has been taken, but there isn't an app out there already, you can actually, I've seen a lot of apps do this, you can actually give the app like its name and then have like a little blurb in the app name as well. Like, for example, Tweetbot's actually called Tweetbot, a Twitter client with personality in its app name. Or the other one, Doodle Jump, warning this game is very, very addictive as its actual app name in the App Store. So you can actually have different names. And that's actually really good because you can also use that to add additional, this is probably a bit of a hack, add extra keywords or descriptiveness to your app for app searching. So beyond the 100-letter keyword limit, you can actually bait it a bit more of that. As far as I could tell, I couldn't change it. Apparently in the past you could actually change it pretty easily, but developers are being naughty of this and trying to skew the order list by calling the app like 000 app name or AAA app name. So Apple put a stop to that by basically locking down the name, and I think you can change it, but it takes a lot of effort. You might have to go straight to Apple and ask. So yeah, so once you've got the app name, if you spelled it wrong, too bad. Yeah. Keeping it short's a good idea. Like, I know you can abbreviate it, but on the home screen you've got like a 10-character limit for the app name, and if you don't have to abbreviate it, it would be nicer. So if you can think of an app name that's really short, that's always a good thing to do. This comes up really handy in Twitter and other search engines actually. If you can make a name that's really unique, like if it's a name that you can just put into a search engine and only your app will come out, that's usually better because that'll make it a lot easier when you're actually doing searches for how well your app's doing down the track. And this is just my personal preference because I'm sick of explaining to people what Foursquare does, because you can't actually tell what Foursquare is just by the name. I'm also a pretty big Foursquare user. I'm the mayor of this building and the hotel in the 3 days I was here. So if you can have a, yeah, I shouldn't have said that. If you can actually have a name that basically you can look at the name and go, oh, I know what that app does, straight away, that will actually be a lot easier for people and will probably entice them to try it out a lot quicker. Okay, next you've got the app description. Now, has anyone actually read an app description from start to finish? 1.5? 2? Cool, yeah, okay. Yeah, so I was thinking, I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what's a good app description? What can you put in there to make the app look like really fleshed out and professionally done? And I went around and checked out a lot of other apps, like the Twitter app is like a paragraph like yay big, and other ones are reams and reams of volumes. But some things I thought was just straight out of the blue. You can change the app description anytime you want, which is cool. So I actually used mine for announcements. If something was coming up or an update was coming out, I'd stick it in the announcement straight away. I don't know if users really read that on a constant basis, but it makes me feel better. But yeah, usually you should describe the app, but don't overdo it. Like 3 sentences is probably enough to get the idea across, and most users will either be like, yeah, that sounds cool, or no, that sounds terrible at that point. After that, you can, this is a really nice one, add a list of your main features, the ones you really want to be proud of. So if a user is going through a pile of apps, they're after some specific functionality, but they don't know which one to get, if you can list out features you have that the other apps might not have, that will definitely give yours a bit of an edge over their apps. So if yours is the only one that does like iCloud sync at the moment, then yeah, definitely put that in. Just things like that, things that will definitely make your app stand out against the other apps out there. Also, this is a bit of a tooting your own horn thing. I got a very nice review from Louis, so I put that up on mine, right there. And yeah, so basically, if people say nice things, it's always good to just say the app's had a bit of recognition. If it's got like app of the week or something on Apple, you definitely want to pimp that out as much as you can. So don't overdo it, but one or two like good reviews is always a good thing to add in there. This is a good one to kind of give stuff back to the users. I thought it was like my app wasn't finished like fully. I wasn't like fully finished with the feature set, and a lot of users were now suggesting features. So I thought at the very bottom of the app description, I could put in like a little list saying I'm still working on it. This is the stuff that's coming out. So if you're interested to get the app now and maybe just hang on for these features, this is what's definitely coming. So it's good to have like a little upcoming plan for the app in the description as well. And then at the very end, a lot of apps do this. If you want to do it, just put like a little, I think the last 2 points go together, like a little email address saying, if it crashes, let me tell you, I've tested on as many devices as I can, but if it crashes, come talk to us, here's our email address, we'll try and sort you out. So could you do that before you give us a 1-star review and just, forget about us completely? And yeah, that's just like a little good thing to do. And finally, this one I ballsed up royally for the first time, so I thought I'd just let you know about this, the app icon. That's not actually the icon from the binary. That's actually a scaled down version of the 512 pixel one that gets uploaded along with the description. It can only be changed on updates, which I found out to my frustration when I screwed up the icon and it looked terrible for the first update. So if it does look really weird or blurry, that's why. It's not actually the direct copy and paste from your other icon, your app's icon. This is why I screwed it up. So gloss, apparently, even though the iTunes Connect website says always leave the gloss off your icon because we'll be putting it in ourselves, apparently if you upload your app with it saying that the gloss is already put in the plist, it won't put gloss on the icon when it actually goes up. So for the first couple of releases, mine didn't have any gloss, and it looked really weird because it was blown out to trying to account for the glossiness. And yeah, I don't want to go there. So just basically remember that if you've got gloss already in the icon in the app, make sure you already have it in the icon for the app store as well. Don't worry about round edges. Like everyone's seen like the apps with like the white pixels around the rounded edges, right, in the app store. Yeah, that just looks bad. Yeah, so just don't worry about trying to match the curves. Just make the whole thing the same color, and like the App Store will probably just round it off for you on its own. So yeah, just don't do that. And this is just a bit of a personal opinion. Just keep it simple. I've seen some app icons which are just like, 20 megapixel photograph scaled down to 47 pixels. So yeah, it's like most good apps are just without going too much into design, like a nice solid background, a nice simple icon. That's it. All right, so once you've actually sent the app off to Apple for review, and you've got that magical email from Apple saying that your app was rejected for using private APIs, how did that get in there? Yeah. Little tip, guys, if it's not in a public header, don't write a category to try and call it anyway. Found out. Also, yeah, that was for using a proprietary UI color class. So any class is out of bounds. Anyway, so let's forget about that. There we go. And there, that's better. So now your app's ready for sale. So where will it appear once it's actually for sale? Now, the sad truth is that it probably won't be instantly available. Like, there's no real area that it'll appear and users can suddenly find out about it. Like, there is in every single category on the App Store a section where recently released apps comes out, but that flies by, and I doubt anyone's actually checking these things constantly, saying, oh, maybe the app I want might appear in this list. So for the first while, the only way people are actually going to find your app is via the search feature of the App Store. So this is where it gets a bit, it means that people will have to be looking for the functionality your app provides, and so they already have to be on a mission to find this app before they'll actually find it on their own. So that takes me just to app search. Now, to actually get your app to appear in search results, so updates, you actually manually define the keywords that will be used to search for the app. Now, in the past, it did actually use the description as well to search for apps, but people were making way too much use of this, and they were doing things like putting in the description, if you like Angry Birds, Tiny Wings, Doodle Jump, more like putting every single popular app name in there to try and bait the search description to bring your app up. So now it's completely locked down to the app name and to these keywords. So the app name is auto-included, so don't put that in the keywords as well, unless you've got, like in my case, I had funky lettering, so I thought it'd be a good idea to put it in anyway, just to make sure that if there was non-standard lettering, that the search would still work if you put in standard lettering. There is a 100-letter limit for keywords, so you've got to be really, really concise about the keywords you use and pick ones that are really, really good for the app. But you basically just want to make it, if they search for something, if they're searching for just the functionality of your app, you put in as many synonyms to what your app actually represents, as opposed to like its name or spins on its name, that kind of thing. So you really just want to drive home what the user is looking for and how you actually want to match that up. Don't use generic keywords. Like I was going around doing a search for good keywords in the App Store, and one website was saying things like free and fun and happy, and no, that will not work. So just make sure you keep it really concise. The user is going to want a specific thing. So if you try and make it like trying to bait it so your app will appear regardless, that probably won't actually work. And I think because now many apps have done that, it won't actually appear. Yeah. So at this point, users will be looking for something specific. Once it actually gets up the App Store ladder a bit more, they might actually just start finding it for, just by happenstance, which is excellent. That opens up a much wider market. But until then, if they're doing through search, they're looking for something specific. They've established they want this app, and they're going to just be looking through this specific list for that app. So it's a very small market initially. So once you actually get on the App Store and start getting nice, happy reviews and the likes, you will start off at search, and in this instance, people will only be actually searching for your app, so you actually only be exposed to a very small penetration of market share. Once it starts to get a few good reviews, it might move up to the top category. So if it's like reference apps or games, you might get in there. And this is good because now suddenly people just browse through these lists when they're bored. So suddenly you've got an area where people might just happen upon your app, and if the app name looks cool and the icon looks cool, they might just check it out. The one that iPokedex made it all the way up to is the top one, and this one is just, people are just on this one constantly from the looks of it. It's just, yeah, if they're bored, they're just going through, they're going, any cool new apps? So if you make it there, like the number of downloads increases significantly because it's just, they might not even know they want an app for that, but it's there and in their face. And then, if you make it big time, you'll get to the featured list. But yeah, has anyone actually made it there yet? Nope. Oh, hey Josh. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Alrighty. So just to show how iPokedex went down. When it started off, can anyone actually tell me when it actually hit number 7? There's a slight spike, a really tiny one. You might miss it. But yeah, basically when the app came out around here, it was averaging about 3,000 downloads a day, which was amazing. I was used to 1 download a day. And then after a while it went down. Then I released the first patch update, and it basically idled for a bit. In June 1, I actually translated the app to Japanese and actually gave it to the Japanese market. And so then you actually see a little bit of an increase. And then it just took off. I don't know what happened. I'm still trying to figure out what actually caused the catalyst for that. But yeah, it went from 3,000 downloads a day to 30,000 downloads a day for a little while. And then it went back down to about 2,000 downloads a day. So I think it was actually just a word of mouth kind of thing. And then when it actually got to the point where on the front page of the store, the reviews were saying people were just downloading it because they just saw it and they thought, what the heck, it's Pokemon and it's free. So yeah. All right, so the app's on the store, but no one knows about it right now. So now I actually have to tell people it's out there without getting blacklisted for spam, which I've also had happen to me. So let's try and do this nice white hat way without, getting blacklisted. So the first thing you might want to do, this is a cool thing that lots of apps do, is to try and, just a quick question. Has anyone here actually reviewed an app willingly? They download the app. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, Louis. Like, you got the app and you're like, this is cool. I'm going to give the guy 5 out of 5 without any prompting whatsoever. Oh, geez. Okay, cool, Tim. A couple of you. Okay, I've never done that before. Sorry, guys, if I've got your app. But there's this cool little open source library that is out there, and lots of apps use it. It's basically a little library that just every now and then, after a long period of time, once the users establish that they like the app, will just prompt saying, hey, if you like this app, you want to rate it, and just go to the App Store. Has anyone not seen this at this point? It's on all the main ones like Angry Birds and Jetpack Joyride and all it's everywhere. It probably should be default iOS functionality. But it's an open source library called Apparator. Yeah, okay, Apparator, which is on GitHub for free, and it's an MIT license, so you can just grab it, and as long as you reference it, you can use it any way you want. It's very unobtrusive. It basically waits. It's got like a set of conditions, like it waits for a week or it waits for the app being opened 15 times before it actually appears. So it's just a really quick reminder that only appears once the users really establish that they like the app. Relatively unobtrusive. You can either hit rate or hit remind me later, which it does an hour later, or hit no thanks, in which case it never appears again. And it definitely helps out app ratings. Like a lot of my reviews were saying things like, the thing told me to rate it, so here it is, I rated it. God, just shut up already. So obviously it contributes. I don't know if it's a good thing, but it definitely did help a bit. So I'd recommend always put Apparator into your apps if you want to get like a good user base behind it. All right, social spamming, networking. So Russell pointed on this a little bit earlier today, just saying that, I actually say it helps out a little bit. I mean, at the point of saying you've got not much to lose, it's good to try and leverage these things as much as you can. So I was going to say that the two main ones are your good old Twitter and your good old Facebook. Twitter is really good because it's a really open public space. You can, I set up a hashtag for my app, and just every time I was talking about developing it, I'd tweet about it. Facebook, I didn't try and use Facebook as an advertising platform because that is a lot of pain and grief, and I keep forgetting to do it, and I'm too lazy to do that. If you've got like a name that your group works under, it might be cool to have like a page about that and just put updates to one main page instead of trying to make a certain like page for every single app. But Twitter's really cool because even if you don't think anyone's watching, people are watching all the time. I'll talk about that later. But yeah, just really quickly, don't if you're going to use these things, don't like advertise them. You should probably like just discuss them. Like I didn't actually say get my app, get my app, get my app. I'd be like talking about stupid user defaults are screwing up in my app kind of thing. So just like talking passively about the app, and it would actually generate a little bit of interest about that as long as I use the right hashtags. I went around and asked pretty much everyone I know to share it, and that was actually quite nice. A lot of my good friends actually did go ahead and share it, and it actually got a bit of a viral outgoing from that. Not too much, but it was always every little bit helps. If you're going to start talking about it on social networking, just remember you don't spam it. Don't ever spam it. I've spammed it and it didn't work out. I'd probably say 3 posts a day tops, maybe more if it's a new release or something. But yeah, just remember to be very, very careful about that. Never repeat yourself. So if you write a tweet about it and you repeat the tweet an hour later, you'll lose all your followers like instantly. Maybe not that badly, but pretty badly. And yeah, that's about it. So the next thing you can do is, who here doesn't have a blog? 1, 2. Okay, so yeah, everyone has a blog. Okay, cool. Yes, that's my blog. It's also got 70% off bubble tea. Cool. So yeah, a blog's just a really good place because it generates. It's a great place where you can basically write articles about your app, which is always really good to actually just promote the app a bit. If you want to talk about some of the underlying technologies you wrote for the app, this is a great place. You can't do that in social networking space. It's always good to have a blog for this kind of stuff. Let's see. So yeah, helps. But it also just bolsters Google rankings. So if you start looking for your app on Google rankings, you've got a blog about it. That'll usually appear up first, and it helps just actually solidify the presence of the blog online. It's a great place for if people want to actually come and talk to you about the app in a public space, they can just do it in the comments for some of your blogs. And I got quite a bit of questions about that in my blog comments. So that's a really good place to, if it's a bit more detailed than social networking will allow, it's a really good hub you can have. If you have an official team site as well, like a group of you guys making stuff, you can always have a blog there, which is probably standard these days to have. And blogs are very, very easy to set up. I mean, everyone here basically has one, so I don't need to really drive that home. Like WordPress.com and Tumblr, it's all 5 seconds, you're done. All right, now Russell was saying that these don't really work today, but I'm going to say that I think they do actually, like third-party review sites. So basically, I was going to do some research to see which ones were the best, but I just did a single Google search for app review sites, and I got a wall of websites. It was like every single front page was like a link to 10 more review sites. Yeah, spamming, yeah. But yeah, there are tons out there. And as long as you don't pay money, you got nothing to lose putting your app on these app sites. And from what I've seen, I put my app on maybe 3. These sites, or at least similar ones, they actually seem to watch each other. So if one app appears on one, it actually starts to propagate to others, which is really curious. And all of a sudden, I actually had blogs blogging about my app that I had never told or anything. So I'm actually thinking that these are really good just because they actually have like a weird viral cascading effect where the app will actually get a bit more prolific online just from doing a little bit of effort. But since there's nothing to lose, I definitely recommend, even if it's just as a little bit of a boost, to always just submit your app to as many review sites as you can. To do that, I'd recommend, just really quickly to actually say how it works, you should always have like a nice statement prepared to describe the app. Like the first thing they always ask is like, what does the app do? You could probably copy it from the description of the app, or you could just make a really nice press release style kind of one. Make sure the app is ready. My first iteration crashed horribly on iPod Touch 2 generations, and that would not have looked good on any kind of reviews. So just make sure, it's probably a good idea to wait till like version 1.1 or some version of your app just to make sure it's rock solid and any weird teething problems are out of the way. So you're going to get good scores in your reviews. Some might actually charge money. I'd probably recommend staying away from them. They might try and say that they're really, really, it's worth giving us money, so we'll review your app, but that's probably just a weird money grubbing scheme. So maybe just try and stay away from those. You can try it if you want. Let me know how it goes, but yeah, just keep an eye on that. They're not going to buy your app so they can review it. So you've got to actually go into iTunes Connect and generate some keys so they can get your app for free. And there's usually just a little field saying, if app is free, if is paid, insert key here in the submission form. And yeah, they might think your app is a heap of crap, in which case get ready for a bit of, self-esteem destruction. But yeah, just in case. Another thing, this is something Russell touched on this morning, and I actually thought it was really good. If you actually make it look like, well, not make it look like, indicate that the app is, people are caring about the app. There's actually a human presence behind the app. And one of those really great ways to do that is just to update it pretty often. Like, basically what I thought when I was making the app is I want to get everything done and in one lump and then put the app out and forget about it. But I realized I was going to be in development for months upon months if I was going to do that. So I thought, I'll lock it down to a relatively specific scope at the beginning. There's a lot of stuff I can be adding, but I can put that in later, and just get it out and do incremental updates. So I went 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, just went through and added everyone just added one of the features on my list. And that was really good because that actually generated a lot of hype. People were going, oh, new updates coming out, and like, oh, well, people are actually still working on this. It's not vaporware. So, and that actually just really helps to actually just solidify the app is alive, it's changing. If you want, you can give us your input, and we'll actually take your input into consideration. So yeah, so just a matter of incremental updates. So the app doesn't actually have to be completely finished first time round. It makes the users feel more involved if they actually have a helping hand in the actual shaping of the new feature set of the updated versions. In fact, I think this is why Minecraft is so popular, because this is a model that Minecraft does. I've been hearing that it's becoming a community event, basically, with a lot of people involved on it, a lot of people suggesting it, and it's just been going on for so long in beta and alpha. It's nearly out. Awesome. But yeah, it's just a kind of like an evolving group kind of thing. It's like it's not really a static entity. It's always changing. And yeah, so it just basically feels like the app is, once an app has ceased development, you can usually feel it's ceased development. So it's great because it makes the app feel a lot more alive than some of the other apps out there in the App Store. This is something I learned from the guy, one of the dudes who made the Incident, Matt Comey, probably a very popular iPhone app. But he said a great thing he did when he was actually setting up marketing for his app was a newsletter. So just putting like a little text field on his app's website or his company's website, just saying when the app's ready, we'll let you know. So give us your email address and we'll pass along once it's finished, which is really good thing to do because you can set up on the site or in the app if you want to continue receiving updates for the app. You can send out alerts easily. It's just really cool because you're actually building your own user base then. So up in future, maybe for other apps, if they're okay with it, you can actually start sending updates for other apps. Like that can be used for future projects. So you can actually start building your own user base and using that to promote your own app, next apps coming out. So now the actual task of getting the word out is a lot easier around the track. All right. But that being said, newsletters must be used very responsibly, otherwise you're a dirty, dirty spammer. So I think Matt was actually saying he was using a special system where he actually had to go through an approval process saying, I'm going to tell my users this, this, and this, and they wouldn't actually let him send out the email until they actually said, okay, yeah, that's not spam, yeah, you can do it, kind of thing. And it's also very, very strict time-wise. You can't send emails once per day, like more than once per day or something like that. All right, and this is something that really blew me away. It was completely unexpected. But Easter eggs. Has anyone actually put Easter eggs in their apps? Anyone considered it? Couple? Cool. Okay. So I'm just going to get my app up here. I actually, just as a bit of a lolsy kind of thing, there's this cool guy on the internet called Egoraptor. Does anyone know about him? A couple people know? Oh, that's sad. Either way, he made a really hilarious video where he was just... Oh, look, it told me that I should rate my app right now. No, thanks. He actually made a hilarious video where he was just making funny Pokemon noises, and I thought it was so hilarious, I thought I'd put it into my app as an Easter egg. So it's a guess to recognize if you tap the screen 5 times. All right, well, it just yells out, Charmander, in this really, really weird voice. Oh, there it is. Yeah, we got it working.
I choose you, Charmander,
So it's just ludicrous, right? but hilarious. So that was just a little bit of fun, just because I wanted to screw around a view I guess it recognizes. But I left it in there and it went out to the App Store. And someone found it. I don't know what they were doing, just going, yeah, app, yeah, I don't know, something. But they found it. And it scared the hell out of them because they weren't expecting that. And so they jumped on the App Store and went, guys, if you do this thing, it makes funny noises. And then people were going, really? So then they started getting the app to check it out. Then it jumped to Twitter, so people were going, hey, if you get iPokédex, it makes this funny noise if you tap one screen, And then people on Twitter going, what's iPokédex? So it actually started a cascading viral effect because of a hidden feature, like an Easter egg. And it actually jumped a bit, and I had no idea that was even possible. But yeah, I guess I'm just going to say, if you want to try it out, Easter eggs are actually a subtle viral motivation kind of factor for an app. They're supposed to be harmless fun, so you don't actually, do anything malicious with them. I did actually read that there might actually be a little bit of risk behind Easter eggs because they're undocumented functionality. So it's probably a good idea to tell Apple when you're submitting the app that the Easter egg is there. It is hilarious if someone actually finds it. So if you actually set it up in such a way that someone might accidentally find it, it's really funny to watch. Like I said to mine, you can potentially go viral just because of the sheer like someone found something cool and undocumented, and so actually their first goal is to tell everyone they know. And yeah, it helps establish and find the app as a bit of fun. Like, I'm not taking the thing serious. This isn't a corporate business blah app. It's a very fun app, so there's going to be lots of funny little things in there. Okay, and that's it for actually getting the app out there. So once the app's out there, we actually want to start tracking how the app is doing. So I'm going to talk a little bit about app tracking metrics, which is pretty cool. So we've got iTunes Connect, and iTunes Connect comes automatically with your app submission. That's provided by Apple. Now, there's a lot of data in iTunes Connect, and it's really good data. But the problem is it's pretty good, but you could be doing a lot more of the data than what iTunes Connect is exposing to you. So just to help that along, I learned this from the dude who went on to make the Discover Music app. So this is like really up there, I think. It's a really cool online web service called appfigures.com. Has anyone heard of AppFigures before? Anyone? Oh, yep, just one. Okay, cool. So AppFigures is this really cool web service. Basically what you do is you sign up with them, you put in your iTunes, your Apple ID and your password, and basically what AppFigures then does is on a daily basis, it goes through your account, grabs all the information and then passes it and stores it in its own local store. And it's really cool because it actually provides a lot more functionality for actually getting at that data and seeing what it actually represents. So things like being able to segregate based on time, like regional downloads at any given moment, like in the world, and this is updated on a daily basis, and that's really cool. The coolest thing I like about it, because this is somewhat lacking in, really lacking in iTunes Connect, is the ability to actually aggregate and then look at every single user review in one main list. Yes. In any language. And not only that, this is in Japanese, not only that, it actually has a tweet. What the hell? It actually has built-in Google Translate. So you can also just go in, hit Translate to English, and suddenly all your reviews are in English. So that's, yeah, on iTunes Connect, you have to do it per version, per region, one at a time. So yeah, that could use a bit of work. But yeah, so this basically just aggregates all together, and you can actually see all your reviews straight there in either the original language or in English, usually bad English if it's translated, but what are you looking at?
Section 6 of not willing, wrong willing.
Oh, okay. That's talking about the gender ratio. Yeah, okay, you got it. I didn't actually see that before. All right. That's an Easter egg. Well spotted. Yeah, completely, yeah. Anyway, so that's appfigures.com. I totally recommend it. It's cool because it actually saves a local copy of all the iTunes Connect data. So every now and then, I think iTunes actually, if a new version goes out, it actually deletes older, I might need to check this, it actually deletes older version data for your app, but AppFigures stores all of it on its own servers, so you can actually get access to all of it at any time. It lets you filter download sales by basically anything you want. You can filter by update ratio, download ratio, by region, specific time area, a whole pile of really cool stuff, and it's all completely Ajax powered, so it's just one page and just completely refreshing on its own. You can aggregate all your user reviews into one giant list, which is really cool to go through and see what everyone in the world's talking about your app, whether it be nice or sometimes with really badly translated swear words. And it also lets you then, completely inline, set Google Translate to actually go through and translate those reviews. So if you don't speak every language in the world, it doesn't really matter. Unfortunately, it's not free. I wish it was, but it's $5 a month. And I just factor that into my the revenue I generate off my other app to pay that off because it's totally worth it. Okay, so that's online tracking. Now, what about when you've actually got the app on your phone and you're using your phone? Yeah, guy using the phone. Well, a guy anyway. The guy using the phone. So we've got when people download the apps off iTunes, but what about actual usage metrics? Now, there's nothing actually in there already, but it is possible to actually track people using your app as opposed to people downloading your app. And there's a lot of services out there. What was the one you told me about on Facebook, Louis? Flurry. Okay, yep, so there's Flurry. The one I ended up using just because I'm lazy and already had the account was Google Analytics. Okay, Google Analytics. So basically it treats the app kind of like, it's a singleton library that just drops into your app as a framework, and it basically treats your app like a website. So you can treat view controllers as pages, and you can treat everything else as the way like a website actually works, except it's an app. And as long as you don't actually reference the hardware that it's being run on, because Apple's okay with it. And the reason for that is because apparently back in the oldie days, while hardware tracking was still allowed, some guys actually got a log from Apple when they were testing apps on the iPad before the iPad was announced. And so they were going, whoa, guys, Apple's using some kind of new iOS device. And Apple didn't like that. So as long as you don't track the hardware, Apple's totally cool with it. And it's really good because you can actually then get a gauge of actually how the app is doing in terms of usage. Because once it's downloaded, that's the end of it. You hear from iTunes Connect. But this actually gets to see people still using it, when they use it, which countries are using it the most, what's the most active usage time. Funnily enough, it's every Saturday and Sunday. Who would have thought? Every single loading of a view controller ever is that number there. Yeah, that was a bit funky. Yeah. And so basically, what you do is actually just set like a little marker that whenever they load a view controller, it just what I did was I set it so it gives each controller a name, and then just sends Google Analytics the name of that controller. So these are like all the main used view controllers in the app. Funnily enough, the home screen is the most accessed one. But yeah. And that's really cool. That's some really good information there, and I can actually use that to try and gauge which screens I should focus on more, and if there's any other ones that people really aren't looking at, if I need to try and direct more attention, just all that kind of stuff. That's Google Analytics. So it's really cool. It's completely local. So it doesn't actually rely on any external systems that actually work. It can be tailored to track anything you want, so you can actually just put in anything you want to actually set up in a dispatch event to send to Google Analytics. The only stipulation Google has for you using it is that you must actually say somewhere in the app that you're using analytics software, and that it's not tracking anything private, all the normal privacy policy stuff. So it's the exact same things as a website. If you want, you can add an opt-out feature. I chose not to. I was going to if people were kicking up a stink, but they didn't, so that was okay. How it actually works is it actually aggregates all the dispatch events into little packages and setting them off, so it's not constantly spamming the 3G modem. So it actually doesn't really affect battery life as long as you're careful with it. And finally, keep it classy. You can track every single thing the user does in the app. That doesn't mean you should, but just so with great power comes great responsibility. Make sure you track as much as you would need, but not as much as you really want. So I could have tracked like every single search keyword that the users put into my app or something like that, but I chose not to. All right, engaging the users. Okay, so this is just basically, as Russell was saying this morning, support, more or less. So once reviews start coming in, there might be some reviews you don't really agree with. Like, people will always say stuff like, this app sucks, and they won't say why, or how, or what hardware they're on, what iOS version they're on. And unfortunately, on the App Store, there's no way to actually get to those users. They'll say something, that's it. You can't talk to them, you can't ask why it sucks or whatever. So you can't really use that as much of a user engagement sort of thing. In terms of support, though, if you want to put like a really quick and easy way for people to actually get at you, apart from putting the email in the app description, you can also put it as a link inside your app. So it's all of 3 lines of code to actually spawn a mail controller. So you should always at least have at one part in your app something that users can quickly just tap that and then write in really quickly. What's the latest app? Your app sucks, lol, OMFG, etc. And it gets sent off quite a lot. And that I get a crazy pile of emails through that. I get like 1 or 2 a day of people asking me things about the app, mainly through that. So that's probably my main stream of contact. So when people ask for new features or whatever, it usually comes through here. And it's tied up straight to our Google inbox. We can all answer to it. And yeah, and that's just it. So if we get an email through that, we'll say, thanks for your email. We're working on that feature, or no, you're crazy, go away, kind of thing. But yeah, it's all of 3 lines of code. So there's no reason you shouldn't have at least some kind of contact mechanism inside your app. That's a blank slide. Okay. All right, that's what I was supposed to talk here. Another thing I found out, this is cool. This is a little something I stole from someone else. A little while ago, some guys from O'Reilly Media made a book about Twitter. It was called The Twitter Book. Right. And it was a really nice book. I read it to its entirety, and I was like, that's awesome. Now I know how to use Twitter and like tweet and stuff. And then ironically enough, I tweeted about it. I went, wow, the Twitter book is awesome. And 5 minutes later, I got a tweet back from the author of the book saying, hey, Tim, glad you liked the book. And I was just like, holy crap. So this is why I was talking about having a unique app name. So what I did this time is I actually set up a hashtag, or just a search, a specific list in TweetDeck and in TweetBot and all that, to actually constantly scan for my app name. And if people are going, wow, this app is awesome, or this app sucks because it keeps crashing on my iPhone 1, or something like that, I could actually jump in and say, hey, thanks for using the app, or oh, really? Oh, could you send me like a crash report or something like that? So just, and it just blows people's minds because they don't really expect people to be watching them. So the number of like responses which was just like, who are you kind of stuff was just really fun because it was like a troll fest as well. It was hilarious. So that's actually from the Japanese localization. I'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, so and that was really cool because I actually had a lot of people actually talk like just ranting about why features were broken and stuff. And I could actually either, if it was something I could fix with them, like tell them if you go into the settings and change that, or if it was something like I'm working on it, next release, I swear, kind of thing, I could actually engage directly with the users outside of the App Store and most of the time sort out what kind of problems they're having with. So that was actually another really cool medium for actually getting back in touch with the users. And it also freaked them out because you don't really realize that people are watching you on Twitter, always watching. Big brother. Alrighty. And yeah, you're always going to get trolls on the internet. My favorite review I actually got was like, it's just a website in app form. 1 star. I'm sure the user was making this face while he was writing that app. Always happens. I was like, yeah, really? You're going to just... And that's it. That's all I heard from the guy. But I'm thinking, if you're going to get criticism, you can try and be the nicest guy in the world. You can try and bend to the user's will as much as possible. You can bend over backwards. One guy was like, you've done the Pokemon games, but could you add the card game as well, like in with the game? And I was like, nah. So, you're going to get like, people are always going to be upset with something. You can try and fix them all. You can try and keep everyone happy, but there's going to be a point, I think Apple does its best, just figure out what everyone really needs as opposed to what everyone wants and stick with that. If you do have the communication channel to talk to them, just remember like what Russell was saying before, the Wheaton's first law, just be really polite, ask what's wrong. Like I had one guy who was raging about it, and I asked him why is he raging about it, and he said, well, it doesn't do this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and like listed off a huge pile of Pokemon algorithmic metrics. And I actually went back and researched and went, oh, he's right. So I actually went and added it into the next app release and told him about that, and he changed his tone completely. He was really happy about that. So, if the avenue persists, just try and be nice to them, try and clarify, see if they still want to be a meanie to your own face. Most of the time they don't, they're just raging at the air. But if all else fails, just forget about it. It will happen, so don't let it ruin your day. All right, and my final section of the app talk is localization. This is something I was screwing around with from the beginning. Has anyone actually thought about localizing their apps to other languages? Yep, cool. There's a little bit, cool. So I've been doing Japanese for a few years now. I lived in Japan for a year, and I do this really cool after-school tutorial thing called Kumon. So I thought, well, what the heck? I'm going to try. It might be impossible. It might be really hard. But I'm going to try and translate this thing to Japanese. So localization. So it's actually really easy to translate apps to other languages on the iOS store. It's like NS localized string, and that's it. And it was becoming very apparent that other people really wanted the app to be in their respective languages. I was getting reviews on app figures about this. And I actually went into the App Store with a very bigoted Western view that since the iPhone is a US device, it's a very Western kind of thing, surely the main market is people who speak English, or like English is at least their second language. So I was thinking, will it actually be tangible gains to get from actually spending the time and effort to localize an app and then actually start the whole process of like getting the word out there in another language? So I spent a month. I took the app, I redesigned some elements so they fit Japanese words and just redid all the graphics using Japanese characters and all that. And I called the app Aizukan, which is Japanese for iPokédex, funnily enough, and stuck it out there. And let's see. And this is basically what happened. So that was it. That was like the number of Japanese downloads I had before the localization. And if you can see the number, it's like 100 a day. So it was like 10% of the downloads are from Japan. And then after that, as you heard before, it became number 7. So it jumped to a couple of thousand a day, and then jumped to 30,000 a day. And that was just Japan. And so by the end of the whole experience, more than half of total downloads was exclusively from Japan. So you had Europe, Australia, America, like every single country in the world, and then Japan. So obviously it was definitely worth localizing it. There was a huge demand for it, probably because of the source material. But yeah, I was actually blown away. I was like, no one in Japan would have an iOS device, but looks like they do. just a fair few. So yeah, so from now on, I'm actually thinking that localization is totally worth it. If you can actually spare the resources and the time to do it, I would definitely recommend it, because there is obviously a huge market out there, much bigger than just the English speakers, for app usage. So, just in terms of localization, yes, it's totally worth it. If you can, you should do it. It does indeed open up app exposure quite more. Like if you actually thought there wasn't any point to doing it, there is definitely a point to doing it. It may require design changes, depending on your, like some languages, flip the reading direction. In my case, the Japanese font actually rendered like 4 pixels above the English font, so everything looked really screwy initially. So you've got to actually factor in like a lot of things will change when you actually translate to a different language. One thing was like, this is really interesting. Like the Japanese don't actually have a fair use clause in their copyright. So while what I was doing here was in a legal grey area in terms of using the Pokemon copyright, in Japan it was downright illegal. And so people were going, wow, this guy is either really hardcore or really stupid. Oh my God, he's going to get raped in jail and rah, 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 rah. And I was just like, oh man. So I was like, oh wow, okay. So obviously, depending on like your culture, with like you're definitely being brought up with different laws in effect than other people, you actually get extremely differing reviews sometimes, like opinions. So yeah, didn't expect that. I was actually quite scared for a little bit there. Anyway, and yeah, just finally, I can like handle like Japanese bug reports coming in more or less with Google Translate's help. But if I did any other language, I'd probably be screwed. Like if I could, like it's someone in German saying it's like this menu is broken, I don't think I could actually cope with it. So keeping in mind, if you want to support it in other languages, you're going to have to set up the infrastructure for it. So yeah. And that's it. That's my speech. Thanks for attending, guys. We've got 5 minutes, so if there are any questions. Yes?
Did you ever consider putting ads on your free one?
On the free one? Yes, I actually made 2 versions. I made the full one, which is $1, and then a little while later I thought I'd try out iAds, so I made an iAds specific one, called it a light version. And iAds isn't good. Like I'm getting more downloads with the free one with iAds, but the return is like 3 cents a day on a good day. So I made enough money to sustain an app developer program with a paid app, but I've almost made enough money to buy myself a small latte with the free version. So I'm thinking at this point, if you want to go with either a paid app or a free app with ads, I'd probably just stick to your guns and go with a paid app, because it will give you better returns in the end. It makes it feel a lot nicer. Any other questions? Yes, Louis.
Moving slightly away from the app development side, did you consider maintaining your iPokedex blog in Japanese as well?
Considered it. I actually have a profile on basically Japanese Facebook called Mixi, and I was actually doing a little bit about that. But I found out trying to discuss programming code in Japanese was way beyond my abilities, so it would have been like really bad English, but on the Japanese side. But yeah, a little bit of that, and there was actually a good bit of user feedback and interaction from that.
You said you gave the Japanese localization a different name.
Yeah.
You can do that.
Yeah, you can. So when you actually go into iTunes Connect, you can actually say add new localization, and that will give you the option to actually specify an app name, app keywords, and app description in each respective language. So you can actually do that, and it will appear in iTunes Connect as that language in that specific app store. So depending on what account the Apple ID is tied to will depend on what will appear when you do a search for that Apple ID. Yep?
Do you have any experience with picking the right price? Because it has an impact as well.
The right price? Well, for that one, I made it free because I knew if I charged for it, I would get sued really quickly. But it's really hard, isn't it? Because like Russell was saying, it's been a race to the bottom. So unless you give it 99 cents, like charge 99 cents for it, people are going to start going, wow, $2, this is outrageous, what are they trying to drive me? So it's really hard. Like I would assume depending on how much you think it's worth, you can always try and see if people will go for it. I mean, there are successful apps out there like OmniGrapher, which are being charged like, $60, and they're doing really well. So, if you make it out that your app is worth the amount you're asking for, I'm sure people will still be happy with buying it. Anything else? All right, well, if you want to talk to me later, there's my email address and Twitter. I'm sure you've been seeing me spamming the DevWorld hashtag, more or less. But yeah, anyway, thanks a lot, guys, and I hope you enjoyed the conference. Thanks, Tony.